Hi, Chair Powell. Nancy Marshall-Genzer with Marketplace. What is your plan if we start to see stagflation?
So that's the whole plan is not to have stagflation, so we don't have to deal with it. So that is actually our plan.
YouTube, what's up? I had to come back home because of a canceled flight. I was literally in a car on the way to the airport when I got the text message that my flight to Bali was canceled. So yeah, there's a pretty big volcanic eruption. Like all flights around Asia to Bali is just, and so I had to come back home and kind of like bummed out. But I figured, what am I going to do? And I'm like, dude, why don't I record a video? So here we are. And man, there's a lot of stuff to talk about because a bunch of things have happened since the last time I did a session, and one of them being the elections. So why don't we get at it? Now, I was wrong. And I'm first to admit when I'm wrong, right? And what I was wrong with was, if you had watched my earlier episodes, I said that I thought that the elections would be close because even though the gambling platforms were saying a pretty big victory by Trump, the polls were indicating that it was too close to call. And the truth is, the gambling platforms were right. So there you go, right? Gamblers know what's up. Trump literally destroyed Kamala. Like, destroyed it's not even close, right? He went over 300 electoral votes, right? Look at this sea of red. So this in and of itself is something to reckon with. Like, the people of America have clearly spoken out that they prefer Trump over Kamala Harris, and there's absolutely no question about it, right? This is such a one of the clearest messages I've seen. And so the question then becomes, well, what the heck are they so clear about? Like, so why Trump, right? So that's what I was kind of thinking, like, okay, why? Is it this? Is it that? Is it, Kamala can't really deal with Putin and like the Middle East crisis, or what is it? Like, what's so good about Trump? And I found the answer. The answer is simply here. And what is this? Well, this is basically telling you, look, people who think the economy is doing well were mostly Kamala folks, right? Almost 90% of them thought things were going well in the economy. And if you look at all the people who thought the economy is in the gutters, right, poor, mostly Trump people. Poor or not so good, mostly Trump people, right? Then you go back to this chart, this map, and you see all the red. And basically, all the people in the red think that economy is not doing well at all. And that, in a nutshell, is the reason why Trump absolutely crushed the election. People are not happy with the economy. They're suffering. The statistics and data tell the story to you. And that's the clearest signal, but more than any of the manufactured like unemployment data, GDP, and all that other mumbo jumbo. Forget about it. These are people on the ground living life, telling you it's tough out there. It's not good. They're poorer now. They can't buy as much, and jobs aren't as available as they used to be, and life is getting hard. And that's why they voted for Trump, because they're very dissatisfied with the existing administration. And fewer people think that the economy is good. There's a saying, right? I think it was Bob Marley, but you can fool some of the people some of the time, but you cannot fool all the people all the time. And that's basically what's been going on. I tell you, this has been going on. It's really frustrating for me to watch, right? The other example of this, and there's many examples of this, but I'll just pick one of the many other ones because you're probably aware of this one, is the whole Joe Biden cognitive decline thing, right? For the longest time, right, mainstream media was saying that Joe Biden was, his mental alacrity, his cognitive, clarity, it was really good, just as good as before, or even better, right? Whereas we would see evidence in video clips and appearances where clearly that wasn't the case, but the media kept telling you to not believe your eyes and ears and believe them instead, right? Don't believe what you see and hear. Don't believe yourself, basically. Believe what we're telling you. And they did that for the longest time until finally there was a moment where the reality was too detached from the lies that the jig was up. And that moment was during the presidential debate between Trump and Biden, right? That was the moment where it was like, dude, no way, man. Can't lie to me about that anymore because it's just too detached from reality. It's too obvious, right? And so that's when it ended. And then we know what happened, right? Like Joe left and Kamala came in, right? Now dialing it back to what's going on with the economy and, mainstream media and data and government producing all these rosy numbers saying things are okay, everything's under control. Yet people on the ground telling you with this massive, vote for Trump. And the reason I showed you underneath why they're unhappy with the economy, this might be the moment for the economy. The Joe Biden moment with the presidential debate with Trump moment might be here for the economy, right? Where it's too detached now from reality. Like the jig it's either the jig is up for the economy or it's about to be up. Meaning like you can't pull, the wool over our eyes. Like the truth is here, right? And people are waking up to it. Now, some people are more woke than others, and I don't use the word woke in the bad way. And I'll get to that in a bit. So yeah, this is astounding, right? Now, you ask why? Why are they not feeling well? Look at the inflation. So this is another thing. Like people look at this and be like, look, inflation went up and look at inflation going down. So, things should be good again, right? Like, no, that's not what's going on, right? Like this was really bad. Like, so prices went up really high, like $10 thing you were buying now became $20 thing. And then you were thinking like, oh, since it went down, now that $20 thing became $15 thing. No, that's not what's going on. That $20 thing continued to go up in actual nominal price because it's still increasing even here at 2.4. So that $20 thing became $21 thing, $22. It's still going up in price, right? It's just the rate or the speed at which it's going up in price might be slowing down, which is called disinflation, but the price is still going up. It didn't just plateau at that super expensive high price. It's still going up slowly still, right? It's definitely not deflation, which would be the price going down. So people are still getting poorer. They never recouped back all the damage that was done when prices shot up because of the inflation that we had a couple of years ago. And so that's a big part of the reason why people are not happy, right? They're just poorer. And as you know, inflation and money printing is a stealth form of taxation. That's how the government taxes you stealthily, right? They make you poorer. They take your money, but they don't take your actual money away. They take your purchasing power away. So the net effect is you're still poorer. You can't buy as much, right? They took it from you. And the way they took it from you was by printing money to fund all of their shenanigans, which is why they're broke, which we'll also get to. The other thing is, like, there's all kinds of data, and like I showed this before, but look, election coming up, the current administration wants to stay in administration, so they make the data look as good as possible to paint a rosy picture that employment is strong, for example. Look, they freaking lied about almost 1 million jobs, right? They would say like, well, look, really good job numbers, and then later on they would revise it down months later when nobody else is looking. And they would do that over and over again to now where the original and revised has this huge gap, right? It's almost 1 million. Think about that. So all of this stuff has been kind of propped up, not just this, but GDP, all the macroeconomic, we're not in a recession, the economy is doing well type of data has been jigged up, right, to prop up and give Kamala and the Democrats and the administration in power a higher chance to win. But now it's over. And it was a disastrous type of over. And so now what could happen is that they're just going to let the truth come out, right? The truth come out. Look, the Fed and all the other people, they know. That's why they're cutting, right? They know it's not good. That's why they're cutting, right? Otherwise, if it's so good, why the hell are they cutting, right? Why'd they cut 50 basis points and then another 25 just recently? If everything's so hunky-dory. They're lying. They know what's up, dude. They know also it's being propped up for the elections, which is now over. And so what may happen is the truth is going to come out, right? We're going to have the Joe Biden moment with the presidential debate with Trump. And now I'm saying this, I have no affiliation to right, left, or I don't really care. I'm not an American citizen. I don't live in the United States. I have a Republican, Democrat, Independent. Doesn't matter. It doesn't mean a smidgen to me, right? But I'm saying this just as somebody with a brain, right? Like if I was Trump and I'm going to come into day one and they've been propping up a false reality of how good the economy is so that they can try and win the election, which is now over, then they might just let the truth come out and say like, well, to basically screw me over, right? As I come in and try to blame me for, the bad economy, right? What I would do is I would front run that, right? I would front run it. I would just call them out on all these things that have been, all the shenanigans that have been going on. Call out and say the stock market's not the economy. It only benefits like the top 10 or fewer percent of the population who owns stocks and playing that casino game, right? That doesn't mean like the average American's doing well. And call these things out before I enter the office so that, it's there for the record, right? Like, you can't blame this stuff on me. That's what I would do. And I think that's what he may do. Because if there's one thing that Trump isn't, he's not stupid, right? The guy knows how to make deals, and he knows how to position himself in a way so that he can win, right? Those are things that he is very good at. Love him or hate him, that's just who he is. So this kind of stuff, the game might be over, the truth might come out. It might come out before his day one in the office. And actually, if I was Trump, like I just said, I would actually pull it out so it does come out before day one, right? So you can't put the stuff on me. The other thing that just reinforces that the jig is up is, and why I think Trump is actually going to do this, is because look at what he just did, right? Like yesterday, just hours ago, he just said, like, look, I'm going to appoint, and I love the name Doge. God, this is, I tell you, we're in a simulation, man. But he appointed Musk and Ramaswamy, both entrepreneurs, right? I respect both of these guys. You love them, hate them, you got to respect them. As the Department of Government Efficiency, basically he's going to clear out or attempt to clear out, right? Which means that the whole propping up, which the government has been, so what has the government doing? They've been printing money, going into debt, and what are they doing with that money? They're using it to hire people and stimulate stuff so that it looks and prop up the economy so it looks like the economy is doing well when really it's really unhealthy. And all these numbers that you see is just because it's government spending, government employee, government jobs, that they just manufactured out of thin air to juice the numbers up. But this is going to kill all that, right? Like, if you don't think that these two guys are going to go in and sniff it and kill you, you had a rude awakening in front of you. So that's how I have the sense that Trump is going to come out and preempt things and kind of like call things out before he steps into the quagmire, because it is a quagmire that is being stepped into. The other thing to keep, an understanding in your mind wrapped around is that, these recessions, these gray vertical bars, they're officially called by the NBER, an organization that, one of its tasks is to call when a recession started. And they're always late, right? They like these triangles are when they call it like, look at the monthly lag, right? Up to 16. So sometimes almost like a year and a half after the recession started, they say, oh, the recession started 16 months ago. What's more accurate is the stock market, where these are the tops, right? Where the tops come in, and the stock market's more forward-looking in that sense, and they call the recession sometimes as it happens or right before it happens. And so we're at the situation here now, right? When you look again, everything I've said until now, all the shenanigans that have been played, when the rug gets pulled out and the actual truth and the data comes in, that's when this is going to not look good, right? And that will call out, and then many months later, you're going to have the NBR say, okay, now we're in a recession, and it started that many months ago. Now, and before I show, I don't have the chart up with me, but just, if you look at I'm a oil bear, meaning like oil gonna go down, right? And why oil gonna go down? It's very simple in my world, right? Like what happened is going to be the reverse of what happened in COVID. So what happened in COVID was supply chain shut down, supply production went down, everybody went home, nobody was producing as much goods and services as they used to, and that was all happening, right? So supply going down. And then while supply going down, what the government do? Print, and put money into your pocket, right? So all of a sudden, woohoo, I got all this cash now, right? Wads of cash in my pocket, direct to my account by the government. So what happened? Less supply, more money. You know, a bozo will understand what's going to happen when you have it. More money chasing less supply, the stuff's going to get more expensive, right? Come on, man. So that's what happened. And inflation's transitory. Janet Yellen actually ended up apologizing for saying such stupidity. Even Fed Powell, inflation is transitory. It wasn't, right? It became a big problem. Inflation became a huge problem. They had to raise interest rates like no tomorrow. Highest interest rate rise cycle, if not in all of history, one of them to contain the inflation. That's what happened. The reverse is going to happen. What's the reverse? Well, what happened is, okay, like everybody's buying now, right? So all the supply manufacturers, once COVID ended, was like, wow, look at all this huge demand, right? Oh, people want so much stuff. Let's crank it up. So what they did was they just cranked up the supply, right? The production, manufacturing, they boosted it like, wow, poof. More and more made. Thinking that the demand was a linear going up. But guess what? It isn't. What happened? The money ran out. What money? All the money printing and stuff it in your pocket, COVID related paychecks and the economy slowing down, right? And so now you have this overstock of stuff, right? And so the reverse of inflation is what? Is deflation, right? There's too much stuff now and not enough demand to buy it. So now what's going to have to happen? Prices have to come down, right? Prices have to come down, and that's why you see oil, which is an indicator of manufacturing activity, is going down, right? That's why I'm an oil bear, and I do think it's going to continue to go down, barring some geopolitical spike ups between Iran and Israel and the States. But outside of that, it's going down, right? And so that is what we're facing, is overproduction triggered by this false sense of increased shoot up in demand triggered by the whole COVID thing, and now a slowdown going into this oversupply, right? And so when we look at this, the Fed is completely screwed because they started cutting rates on September 18. Like I said in my last episode, what has happened to interest rates, on the yield curve? Gone up, right? Interest rates gone up and continues to go up. This is not what the Fed wants. This is the exact opposite of what they want, because high interest rates means high mortgage interest rates, means more problems for any entity, banks or corporates that took out loans with, interest rates was low, and now interest rates are high, so now they have to pay. This is absolutely disastrous. And also the national debt interest is going up. So let's take a look at that, right? Because this is going on, right? They cut interest rates, but yields are going up, which is real interest rates. We're getting to this weird situation where the equity risk premium is almost zero or even about to go negative. So what the heck does this mean? This is crazy, right? What this is telling you is that if it's about to go negative, and if it does go negative, what it's saying is, look, we're gonna pay you to go to the equity market and take risk and gamble on stocks. I'm going to pay you to take risk. That's what this is saying, which is completely bizarre, right? It's the complete opposite, right? You want to get paid, if you're going to get, to take risk, right? Just saying oh no, we'll pay you to take, no, you make money while taking risk. You get paid for taking risk, which is, it was like the situation when remember crude oil, actually the price of crude oil went negative, during COVID, right? Because everyone thought the world was going to end. So the price of oil was negative, meaning Like nobody wanted oil, so it's like negative price, meaning like, look, we'll pay you money, and we'll give you the oil, and we'll pay you money to take the oil away from us, right? Which was completely absurd. This is basically the same, right? This is what's going on right now, which is absolutely ridiculous, right? And clearly not the way things normally are, and obviously is not the way it's going to be soon, right? So these interest rates are going up, the yield's going up. Remember this one, right? We're at over $36 trillion in U.S. debt. So the interest that the U.S. has to pay on that $36 trillion debt is like it went over $1 trillion in 2023, which is crazy, right? And this is telling you also that this is also the reason why this continues to go up, because you got so much debt now that you have to pay more in interest to coax somebody to buy your debt, right? Because people are now thinking, well, you got so much debt, I don't know if you're ever going to pay it off, so you better give me more interest rate for me to buy more of your debt, right? So we may have also approached the Biden moment in the bond and debt markets, which that is the final end game, right? That's the death knell of the currency, which is why I hold a lot of gold bars in a vault. But what I'm saying here is, because this has been going up, well, guess what? This has also been going up, because the higher the interest rate, the higher the payment you're gonna have to make, right? And it continues to go up, right? It continues to go. We're past 1 trillion. Now we're almost going on our way to 1.2 trillion. 1.2 trillion in interest rate payment. That is crazy. Like no amount of taxes is gonna pay that off, right? Over time. Think about it. This is escape velocity, right? There's no returning once you get to this point. The other thing going on, and this is why the Fed is desperately trying to cut rates, right? They're trying to cut rates because of this. What is this? Okay, we've had like almost decade plus of almost 0% interest rate. It was free money. You borrow money and you didn't have to pay for borrowing money, right? 0% interest. Sometimes even negative real interest rates. For the longest time, right? For the longest time. So people making money doing that. La, 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 la. All of a sudden this inflation thing happened because of what I just said about COVID and all that, which was unexpected, unplanned, right? So that's what happens, right? Life happens. Pandemics happen. And also they had to raise interest rates after like decade plus of like 0 interest rate. All of a sudden, boom, what that did was this, right? And we saw what happened with Silicon Valley Bank and, all the other banks that kind of went bankrupt, right? And then the Fed had to step and say, oh, we're going to backstop all of you banks, any bank in the entire country, we're going to backstop you. So they're all sitting on losses, right? Because of the high interest rate, because they got screwed, right? They just kept thinking, well, I mean, I don't blame them. It was like over a decade of 0 interest rates that those were going to continue on forever. Then boom, it didn't. And so now they're caught holding all this stuff as unrealized losses, meaning it's like, they're insolvent, right? Like if they had to actually execute the transaction, they would lose this much money and they'd be insolvent, right? So this is this huge problem lurking underneath, and the Fed needs to bring the rates back down to 0 again as soon as possible. You want to use the excuse of a recession or whatever with a new president come in, I don't care, but they need to bring it down so this doesn't become a realized loss, right? Because if it does, we're going to have a tsunami of insolvency of financial institutions, not just financial institutions, corporations that also took advantage of the 0 interest rates for a long, long time. So this is this huge debt bomb like lurking under the water. Fed's trying to manage it by bringing interest rates down as soon as possible, which is why this is happening. Because the bond market is a smart money, right? These are professional trade. They're not like idiots, like the dumb money in the stock markets. Right? These guys know, and what they're saying is inflation is going to come back. 2 things: inflation is going to come back later, and you're going to have to raise interest rates. / your debt's so big that the jig's up, and you're going to have to just charge more, give more interest payments out for more people to buy your debt because your debt's just stupidly large. That's what they're saying. And they know this because they know they're not idiots. They see this, right? They see this coming, right? And they know the Fed has no choice but to cut interest rates, right? And they know what's going to happen when they cut interest rates, right? The inflation is going to come back up. And so they're looking couple of, like in chess, a couple of steps ahead of what's going on. And they're saying, yep, nope, this is going to, because this is long term, right? This is up to 30 years in the ultra long, but 10 years, 5 years, 2 years, that yield curve, they're saying like, look, man, we know what's going to happen. This sequence is going to happen, and you're going to have to cut rates, and that's going to cause inflation, and you're going to sacrifice inflation because the other thing is worse, which is insolvency, and that is a systemic blow up, and nobody wants that, right? Inflation's cut by, death by 1,000 cuts over time. It's not immediate death, right? So you will always inflate. That is what every single government has done when faced with this end game of the debt cycle. That 100%, thousands of years, this is what we've done. From the Roman times, they inflate, right? Although they didn't have computers back then, they just put in less and less silver into the coins. That's how they inflate, increase the money supply. That's what the Romans did. That's what everybody did. That's what we will do this time around. And that's why the bond market's saying, yep, that is what we're going to do this time around. And that's why yields going up. And no one's paying really attention to that. Everyone's like, oh, Trump won, and stock market new all-time high. But trust me, the bond market knows what's up, and sooner or later, the stock market's going to wake up and realize what the bond market's been saying this entire time, the smart money, and that's when you're going to have what, as I said before, if we can find it, the stock market eventually will top, and you'll have the blue dot, and the recession happens, and then NBER will come months later and say, well, yeah, we may even be in a recession now, right? We may be in a recession now, and the NBER next year will be like, oh yeah, the recession started in October in 2024, right? That could very well be the case. Which is exactly why Michael Jordan of Investings, look at that. The guy has put in, so he just came out $325 billion of cash. Insane. Look how much money that is in cash. All of this combined is not even as much as the amount of cash Warren Buffett has now. And if you think Michael Jordan of Investing pulled and sold everything, and one of the things he sold was Bank of America, the banks, right? Remember unrealized losses, right? This stuff with the banks. If you don't think Warren Buffett is getting rid of all this stuff, and he has a ton, right? So he has to do it quick and slowly over time without crashing the price, because he doesn't see what's happening. You're sorely mistaken, dude. This is Michael Jordan telling you, I'm about to go do a 15-foot free throw dunk on your face, man. And if you don't want to listen to me and watch me come down, you're going to have my tongue on your freaking forehead. Damn, that is crazy, dude. Just look at that, and to think that this is just nothing. The Oracle of Omaha doing this, and you're like, no, it doesn't matter anymore. Give me a break. So, what happened in the 70s? Inflation went up. Woohoo! We killed it. Then inflation came back up. What's happening this decade? Inflation went up. We killed it. And as the bond market has been saying, yep, this is going to go back up because you're going to have to cut rates because of all the debt and recession and slowdown that's happening. And we know what's going to happen when you cut rates. This is going to come back. Now, just because you have inflation doesn't mean that you can't have a slowdown in the economy. Both can happen at the same time, and that's actually the worst of both worlds, right? You have inflation while the economy is going into a recession, and that's exactly what happened in the 70s, and they call that stagflation. And the Fed has no answer for stagflation, right? And that's what I think is exactly what's going to happen. We're going to have an economy that's going to slow down, go into a recession, while at the same time, they're going to cause inflation by printing, trying to save the economy from the recession, spiking up inflation, and you're going to have this worst of both worlds coming to our doorstep for the next few years. And that's going to be a very tough time, which is why I'm spending a lot of time on these more recent episodes telling this to you so that you can kind of see it along with me, all right, as we do the FoFty. So the FoFty principles and way of preparing for what's going to come so that you don't get blindsided by this, right? So that's why I'm spending time telling you this. Now, I'll just do a quick ending on my stock position. So, the last couple of episodes I told you I took a position in long volatility through the ETF called UVXY. And that I thought, the election was going to be close, so that's going to, the room is filled with flammable gas and we might have an explosion. Well, I was wrong, right? The election was freaking, like I said, like a freaking thrashing. And as a result, the volatility got sold hard, right? So, my position in the volatility is down as much as much as it was up, right, back then. But it's unrealized loss, right? So, I just keep my position because I'm steadily waiting for what's going to happen. And, until that happens, this is a position I'm going to play. But it's not easy, right? When you see like a unrealized loss in your account and, you might be, this is what I mean, like trading and investing is not for everybody, right? You need to have discipline and a strong stomach and, a clarity in what the macroeconomic situation is to understand like what you're going to do, unless you're going to do like day trading, which I told you I don't have much time to do. So let's see how this all unfolds. I was going to wait actually till later tonight to see what the inflation, the CPI numbers are coming out in a couple hours. But I realized it doesn't matter, dude. It doesn't matter because what I explained to you is going to happen regardless of what today's CPI number is. So whether it's up or down, it's actually irrelevant, right? It's not going to stop anything unfolding in the way I think it will unfold. So having said that, thanks for listening. I'm hoping to get on the next flight to Bali, I don't know, hopefully tomorrow. And I'll see you in the next episode. Peace.